On January 28, New York City Holocaust survivors, along with various community leaders, gathered to commemorate the 79th International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Organized by Dr. Sumita Sen Gupta, founder of Arts for All Foundation, the event highlighted India's commitment against the Holocaust and featured Indian and Bangladeshi American community leaders. The ceremony, attended by prominent figures like Vimal K. Goyal, emphasized peace and solidarity, honoring Holocaust survivors and paying tribute to victims. Local leaders, including Assemblyman David I. Vipreen and Councilman James F. Gennaro, stressed the importance of confronting hate and educating the youth. Survivors courageously shared their heart-wrenching tales of survival, highlighting the resilience and strength of those who lived to tell their stories. Local businesses supported the commemoration by donating handcrafted bagels and baklava. Take a look.
At the Hillcrest Jewish Center. This is one of the most beautiful places, not only with the people in here to do any event, but also the people that are so welcoming and so helpful. I cannot tell you, in putting this event together, I couldn't have picked a better place. So thank you for that. As you can see, it's beautiful. So to start our program, we're here today to remember the International Holocaust Survivors Remembrance Day, which actually happened yesterday, but we're celebrating it today. And we have many, many dignitaries here. Everybody here is very special. You took time out to come here on a rainy Sunday to be with us and to see our 9 Holocaust survivors share their story and experiences. So we're very grateful. I would like you to first introduce Rabbi Manis Kogan of Hillcrest Jewish Center and the president of the Hillcrest Jewish Center, Simeon Saturn. Okay, please welcome them.
I'm the president of Hillcrest Jewish Center. Just briefly, we're very happy that we were able to host this event for you, and we just thank you for all coming on a rainy day like it is today. Thank you.
First of all, thank Dr. Sengupta for choosing this place, for honoring us with your presence and with such an important event, and to take an opportunity to thank all our elected officials for everything that you do for the community, for the support for Israel. It's really very, very important, and we don't take it here for granted. I want to thank all of you for coming here. We have a nice presence from Hillcrest Jewish Center, so it's so good to see you there. And I want to talk last but not least about our Holocaust survivors who are here. There are people today that they are saying that what happened on October 7th is only 3 months ago, 4 months ago, actually didn't happen. They are rewriting history of something that we all have news about it, and it's all documented, and they still try to rewrite history about something that happened 3 months ago. So it goes without saying that people are trying to rewrite history about what happened 80 years ago. People who say that it didn't happen the way it happened. And that is why it's so important that you are here to give testimony and just to share with everyone here that not only it happened to you and to your loved ones, but we need to keep doing what we are doing so it won't happen again. So I think this is why this event is so important. I think this is wonderful that you are putting this together. And since I am a rabbi, I like to bless all of us with the ability to remember and to translate our memory into action for a better world for all of us. Many blessings, and have a meaningful afternoon.
And it's imperative that you go on sharing what you've gone through, what you've seen, that you convey to generation after generation the horror that people are capable of, as well as the strength and ability to triumph over it. So thank you. Thank everyone for putting this together. Thank you, Assemblyman Webber, and thank you.
Thank you very much for coming here. As sometimes we just came from another place to honor our great Congress members who stand by us through thin and thick, Gregory Meeks and Congressmember Grace Meng. As somebody who came from the former Soviet Union, I lived anti-Semitism. I was called not a lot of nice names, and then when I came here in America, I finally found to see the courage and to see what I learned. Because under Soviet rule, they talked about how they destroyed the Nazis. But I never met, until I came to America, a Holocaust survivor. To be known, to be persecuted, and to have tattooed numbers just because of the things is unbelievable. So I come here on behalf of the foreign community, and I'm very honored, and you guys are really our heroes, and we should never forget, and we should try to do everything in our power to make sure that this is going down to our children, the next generations, and to everyone else. So I take this opportunity to thank you, the organizers, and to make sure that this will be a day we'll always remember, and we should always remember them, and we should always remember you for going through what you have done, and the next generation should have the courage to stand up what's right. Thank you very much. Thank you for everybody for coming.
Samita Sengupta for organizing this event and reaching out to us. And, you know, as she mentioned, yesterday was actually International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and that was based on the 79th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, which some people look at as the end of the war, you know, the end of the Holocaust. But we all know, as Rabbi Kogan mentioned, we already have the beginnings of another Holocaust, unfortunately, with all the rise in anti-Semitism since October 7th. This is actually the same type of activity that happened in Nazi Germany before the Holocaust. And this was kind of like the beginning of the Holocaust, these anti-Semitic activities and, you know, Kristallnacht, destroying Jewish stores. And it's unfortunate that the rise of anti-Semitism has happened so significantly just since October 7th. So I think it's very important that we have events like this. As you can see, this is a diverse audience as well. And I really want to thank Dr. Sengupta for her work in this. And it's so important that we remember, and it's because of the remembrance and having events like this with 9 Holocaust survivors. As we all know, each and every year there are less Holocaust survivors, and there are also more deniers of the Holocaust. Just as we heard from Rabbi Kogan, there are deniers of what happened on October 7th just a few months ago. So it's so important that we speak out, that we have events like this, and I want to personally thank Dr. Sengupta for all the work she did in putting this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sengupta, for putting this together. So this Holocaust Remembrance Day, I'd like to speak about 2 people from my family. 2 of my grandmother's sisters, Rella and Carmela. When they were young girls, they were taken to one of the Nazis' concentration camps. They were split into 2 different lines. Rella, being the older sister, realized the older children were putting into a line to be put to work. The younger children were being put into a line to the gas chambers. And as she saw her younger sister, Carmela, in the other line, she reached across, grabbed her by the arm, pulled her to her line, and hugged her. And when the Nazis tried to separate them, Rella had an iron grip and she said, "I'm not letting go." And she refused to let go. And the Nazis gave up. They let Carmela stay on the line with Rella, and they both lived through the war. think after October 7th, we have an opportunity within the Jewish community to pull each other close, regardless of our differences, and come together. Because as we've seen before and as we've seen now, there are too many people who are more than happy to pull us apart. And that's the reason why my younger daughter is named after my grandmother's two sisters. I think this is a message that we all need to hear. I think hearing the stories from the survivors and remembering that that has happened and it can happen again if we let it, if we stand by. Thank you.
Brevity is the soul of wit. I like to be witty. I thank Assembly members Weprin and Berger for their very thoughtful comments. We're not here to hear from politicians, but rather the survivors, many of whom have not only survived, but gone on to be tremendous leaders and service providers in our community here in New York. So I really am honored to be in their presence. And I simply thank Sumita, Dr. Sengupta, our mom, Dr. Uma Sengupta, taught us how to really bring people together. That's precisely what Sumita is doing today. So thank you, and thanks to all my colleagues who are going to be witty as well.
Dr. Sengupta, and I want to thank my colleagues David Weprin and Sam Berger for hosting this event. International Holocaust Remembrance Day, first and foremost, we remember the millions of souls lost during the Holocaust, but we also use it as an opportunity to remind the world of the horrors of genocide and the fact that it can happen. When you think about the Holocaust, you think to yourself, how could that happen? How could any people possibly perpetuate such an awful crime on humanity? But the reality of the situation is, it can happen. We've seen it before. Societies are capable of doing that, and we need to remind future generations to be on guard, to step in and prevent these things from happening in the first place. As soon as they start to bubble up, they need to be aware of history. And that's where our survivors are so important. It's not easy to relive the trauma that you've gone through. I'm sure it's not easy to wake up on a cold, rainy Sunday afternoon and come out here and tell your stories. But by telling your stories to us and telling your stories to the younger generation, you're doing your part to guard our world against the possibility of a horrific tragedy like this from happening again. So I want to thank you for your bravery and for speaking up, and it's an honor to join everybody here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sengupta. Thank you so much for your courage and bravery, for continuing to speak up and continuing to push back. And thank you to my colleagues, David, Sam, for co-hosting, and my colleagues in the legislature. It seems like every few decades we have a pattern of rise of anti-Semitism and targeted violence against the Jewish community. And my colleagues and I are committed to ending this cycle of anti-Semitism and violence. And these are the incremental steps that we must take to make sure that history is remembered properly, and then make sure that we don't repeat those mistakes moving forward. So thank you so much, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Dr. Sengupta. Dr. Sengupta lives a shared society every day. She brings people closer together, people of disparate faiths. That's what we do at the JCRC of New York. But here today, we're gathered here today to say never again. Never again will these people, should any Jew, should any race be put to the test, be subject to genocide. And yet again on October 7th, the Jewish people were put to it again. Again, in every generation we read, they rise up against us. And we're so grateful for people like Dr. Sengupta and her family, who bring folks together, who share their concerns, who say to us, you're not alone. You're not alone. Thank you all for coming. Dr. Sengupta, thank you so much for having us.
Well, thank you so much for all that you do. You know, growing up, the people who lived downstairs from me, my father always told me to have tremendous respect for. I never understood why, when the man downstairs from me used to just always block me from playing baseball against my stoop. Until I realized and learned and got older and realized that he was one of the Belsky brothers. That Zush Belsky was actually my landlord who lived downstairs from me. You know, and we ended up learning so many stories. And the reality is each of your stories, and the stories that we all have from our families, are the kind of stories which the world needs to hear continually. The kind of stories that everybody needs to learn. Our next generation needs to learn. Because in order for never again to really be never again, we need to understand our history. We need to understand what happened. And we need to understand the efforts that we need to have reinforced constantly to make sure that never again really means never again. So really, to each of the survivors here, thank you so much for being here. I mean, I do have to especially point out my dear friend Sammy Steigman, who has worked so much with the Wiesenthal Center. Thank you, Sammy. And thank you to everyone for being here. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here today. I want to thank all the elected officials for making sure that this day continued to happen, that we continue to honor our Holocaust survivors. I just heard a report the other day that New York only has 8,000 Holocaust survivors left. Am I right on that number? I'm not sure. Pardon me?
25,000.
In New York City? No.
In New York City.
Okay.
But in New York, in Queens, 600.
600? Okay. Well, I'm hearing a lot of numbers lately because we're in budget in Albany, so the numbers get twisted in my head. But clearly, the numbers are not important, but it's to make sure that we provide a great quality of life for our Holocaust survivors, that we make sure that they are remembered and honored in every way, shape, and form. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Leroy Comrie, New York State Senator, representing parts of Kew Gardens Hills, Kew Gardens, also Briarwood, and parts of Forest Hills, along with St. Albans, Jamaica, Cambridge Heights, Queens Village. I'm honored to be state senator. I'm honored to work with the Jewish community since I've been in public service for the last 30 years. I have a lot of friends in the room, but just back to my main point, we're obligated as elected officials, but we're obligated as New Yorkers to make sure that all people are respected, all people are given their just due, and that we do everything we can to honor our Holocaust survivors. So thank you for letting me say a few words today, and will continue to work with all communities to try to better the lives for Queens residents. Thank you.
My name is Blanche Fixler. I was born in Krakow in 1936. I lived through the Holocaust as a young child, and God wanted me to survive, and here I am. I have a beautiful family, and I thank God for every moment that I was able to come here to talk about it and to say about my beautiful family that I can live to have, that I was able to have after the war.
My name is Jack Bataille. I was born in Poland, Krakow. 5 years in concentration camp. Can you hear me? Yeah. All right. And I was liberated by the United States Army in 1945. And I came over to this country, and was very happy here, very pleased, except I'm old, 100 years old, 100 years in a few months. I'm looking for a young girl to get married again. I had a very good marriage. So what can I tell you?
I'm for you.
I can't hear you, oh geez.
We will find one for you.
You will? Beautiful.
My name is Sammy Steigman. I'm a Holocaust survivor.
child of Holocaust survivors, motivational speaker, educator, and I served in the Israeli Air Force 1962-1965. As my parents and I were deported by the Romanians in 1941, okay, and I was only a year and a half. If you will ask any survivor how come you're alive today, everybody will use one word, and that is luck. My luck was that I was never separated from my parents. I was subjected to medical experiments, and my life was saved by a German woman, okay, giving me milk at the risk of her entire family. The camp was in Ukraine, in an area that was annexed by the Romanians called Transnistria. After the war, in 1946, my parents went back to Romania, where I grew up. I came back to Israel in 1961 and to the United States in 1968. One of the reasons that we have to talk about the Holocaust forever and ever, because it's the best example what hate can do to a person, to a group of people, to a nation, to the world. We should not make comparisons with the past, but we have to learn from the past, and we have to educate the next generation. And by learning from the past, hopefully they will be able. Okay, we should not make comparisons with the past, but we should educate especially the next generation, because that is their world. By learning from the past, hopefully they will become upstanders and prevent future tragedies, make it a kinder and a more peaceful world. As a Holocaust survivor, I had never thought that I will see the day, okay, that I see the rise of the anti-Semitism, not only in the United States, but worldwide, and the indoctrination of some of the brightest young people, okay, campuses like Harvard University and other, okay, prestigious campuses are educating, okay, complete idiots. It's unbelievable to me how they can ask Israel for a ceasefire, allowing Hamas to remain in power, and not asking Hamas to let all the hostages go. It's a one-sided and and absolutely unbelievable. I do hope that the next generation, okay, will make the changes. I am an optimist. I always was. And right now we are at a very difficult period of time. But I am convinced, and I firmly believe, that the pendulum will swing back to the middle, and it will become a more tolerant world. Thank you.
My name is Inge Auerbacher. I'm born in a little village in Germany, the last Jewish child in that village, called Kippenheim, near France and Switzerland. And I remember when all this stuff started, Kristallnacht. I was not even 4 years old. I remember it as if it happened yesterday. My father was sent to Dachau concentration camp, and my grandfather also with him. And the doctor who actually delivered me, I was delivered in the house, my own house. He belonged to the Nazi party, but he still took care of his Jewish patients very well. In a way, I was delivered by a Nazi. Later on, he did some bad things. He was imprisoned. You have in life a choice. Are you going to be a good person or a bad? Unfortunately, he chose something else. And I wish I speak all over the world. I've written more than 6 books. Next one is about children's choir, PS22. They're sort of the voice of New York. They're from Staten Island. And then the Indian book will be, because I'm one family with them. I know all the yachnas. I learned how to cook Indian food. They learned from my mother how to make German food. We are one family. That is my wish for the world. One family. Thank you.
My name is Rosalie Simon. I was born in Czechoslovakia. At the age of 12, at the age of 11, I was expelled from school because I was Jewish. And in April of 1944, we were taken to a ghetto in Mátészalka, which was Hungary then. We were in the ghetto for about 7 weeks, and then we were taken to Auschwitz-Birkenau. Auschwitz-Birkenau was a hell on earth. It was a horrible place. I was immediately sent to the left by Dr. Mengele because I was 12 years old and he thought I was unable to do hard labor. So if you couldn't work, you were no good to the Nazis. And so my mother and I were immediately sent to the left, which meant the gas chamber. As we were walking towards the gas chamber, I didn't know that we are walking towards the gas chamber. The loudspeaker came on and said, all those people that are going to the left will receive more bread. My sisters, we are 5 sisters. My sister was sent to the right. So as I was walking with my mother, I had a spontaneous idea to get my sisters from the other side so they could get more bread as well and be with us together, my mother and me. Little did we know that it was a big lie. We didn't get more bread, but they were heading straight towards the gas chambers. My mother died the very same day of arrival, and my good intentions to get my sisters saved my life because we could not come back. We were watched by the SS guards, and we could not turn back, and I never saw my mother again. I was devastated for leaving her.
My name is Leon Sherman, born in Poland, small town Śmielu, near Ostrowiec. October 15, 1942, they sent out all the Jews from our town to Treblinka. At that time I separated from my parents. They went to Treblinka. I remained in slave labor. From there I went to Ghetto Ostrowiec. From Ghetto Ostrowiec I went to Blizin, Kacet Blizin. From Blizin I sent to Auschwitz, Birkenau. I worked near the crematorium, so I saw everybody going to the crematorium. I worked with, I guess it was Anna Frank's father worked with me in Auschwitz. From Auschwitz I went to Sachsenhausen. Stalin's son was there, Leon Blum, the French foreign minister. I was there for 2 days in Sachsenhausen. From there I went to Dachau. Dachau, it was a satellite of Dachau, was much worse than the main camp Dachau because we didn't have water, no facilities to wash. We got lice and hungry, always hungry. One time a guy in my barrack got sick. In Hungarian transport came, some of them were doctors. And they had like pills, aspirin. He went to them and they gave him the bills. And he ate one and said, oh, that's good to eat. He finished them all. He probably died. And when I go back to Auschwitz, when I arrived in Auschwitz, we were so thirsty that I was drinking from the bottle, the water. Anybody who drank the water died because it was water from the rain. And they got it. And God was watching me. I looked like I didn't, and I survived drinking the water. And also I go back to Blizhin. Blizhin, if one of us ran away, they shot 10 of us. I was standing on a pile outside, and they picked up 10 people to be shot. And the heart was beating, he shouldn't pick you. And then the boys whom we picked up to be shot, they begged him to the Nazi, please let us live a little longer. No, nothing helped. He went for breakfast and they shot him. And that's it. Whatever we're telling you was much, much worse.
Good afternoon. Yes, I'm Susan Charney, and currently I live on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. I'm originally from Hungary. I was born in 1938, and 1938 was of course, we didn't know it then, but that was the year before the invasion of Poland, and eventually it reached us in Hungary. I have, since arriving in the States in 1949, when we were fleeing a communist Hungary, I have mostly been focused on living my life, but at this point I think it's, and not that focus on the Holocaust and what happened to my people. But at this point, on this day of, this is supposed to be a day of remembrance and hopefully some knowledge of history to help us navigate the future. I do remember what happened to us and how at the age of 6, I think I was 5, basically, I'm just going to make this brief. I survived in Hungary because my mother had blue eyes and she was able to pass for Christian. It was in Hungary, these hard events occurred a little late, and when Eichmann was sent in, so that we did not have to survive the extreme long time that people in Poland did. So I am lucky. I consider myself fortunate to be here, that I did remain alive. And so many of my people were murdered, and my interest in a way has been in trying to remember the people that I lost, who I do remember myself, my mother's family. We lived in the countryside, and just for a little bit of history, most of the murders of Hungarian Jewry occurred almost at the same time as the invasion of Normandy. It was June of '44, there was the Normandy invasion, and by July and August of '44, most of the Jews in the countryside were sent away to be murdered. We lived in Budapest, which was another lucky piece that I'm alive. But for the moment, I'll only say it helped that my mother had blue eyes.
I am a Brooklynite who has never been here before, and I'm very impressed by this place. It's lovely, and I'm looking forward to seeing what I'll learn here today.